Yay. Lovely little introduction there and a little countdown. So good to be with you here again, Yvonne. It's great to reconnect. And a beautiful topic for today, which I feel is really relevant. So it's so much about what are our cells actually, what is our intuition communicating to us, and are we able to listen to that? Are we able to be present with that? And, and what is that truth? And for me personally, it has a lot to do with this new earth that we all know is available to us. But the new earth is really a place inside of our own beingness. And I'd love to have you open us up today in relationship to inner truth and the pursuit of finding that.
Well, yes, as I said to you just a minute ago, I'm in a really interesting energetic space. We've had a very big storm here in Melbourne with power going off, and I thought, oh, well, I wonder if there's going to be enough power for you and I, but there is always enough power for you and I. So what I was just saying to you, something that I'm recognizing, I had a Zoom group session last week with a whole group of people that I'd never met before that have come in droves to the Connect to Soul New Earth Community Facebook group to find their tribe. And what came across at one stage that was each one was really searching outside to find information as to just to look for someone who was going to show them that there was a change coming, that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, etc., etc. And what has really come very strong within me is that the light we're seeking is within. And that everyone's reality is the reflection of the story they run in their heads. And when we think about that, when we're first born, we don't have anything in there. Our subconscious is empty, and it gets filled with other people's stories of what they think is their reality. So it isn't until we do some self-reflecting, which is usually when we go and get into crisis, that lovely midlife crisis that everybody has to hit, because that is the time when you have had enough life experience to be able to look at it and go, you know what, that is... that was good about that, and that certainly wasn't. But now I have enough knowledge to create my own stories, my own pictures of what I would like my life to be like. And that, to me, would be the most important thing to look for right now, to really go within, to go and become more familiar with ourselves. We've been so outer-directed and so outer-programmed that the truth that we're looking for out there is in here. And until we actually go within and we find that truth, we're going to be struggling for the rest of our lives. And this is what I'm so excited about, because, around the world, there are millions of people walking away from their old lives for whatever reason. And each and every one of them has a story to tell about that. And that shows you what their background is and what they're still trying to understand and peel off. But what's exciting about that is that the walking away tends to give us an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And the new earth is all about that. It is about walking away from what hasn't worked. Right here in Melbourne, what is exciting me is the thousands and thousands of people that are taking their services away from the employers, which makes me laugh, because I think, well, that's terrific, because the employer who has been making his money, her money, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just how this matrix worked, is selling your services at a price and giving you a little of it. But the service is yours. So when you walk away for whatever reason that is, or you're asked to walk away, you take the service, and the employer doesn't have anything to sell. That's going to really hit hard. And so I'm really being surrounded by people who are offering their services in a new earth way. In other words, direct. I've got this skill. I've been cutting hair, and well, that's been very popular. The hairdressers that have been stepping out of the matrix are absolutely overwhelmed with people needing their services. But everywhere, people are now saying, I can offer you this service. I can come to your house and fix your car. I can wash your windows. It is wonderful. And that's what the New Earth to me is about, where we openly and honestly and one-on-one share our services and skills, where we build together without this continuous umbrella of profit and loss. Finding out that, yes, how are you going to make a business? It makes me laugh. I get so many emails saying, oh, you're a coach. I can help you to build your business. I'm going, what business? Well, have you got a business plan? No, I don't do business plans, never have. I get up in the morning and I ask, how may I serve? And that's really what the New Earth is to me. And that seeking for that inner truth that is the authentic you, that can only reveal itself when we peel off the stories of what you might have believed that was you.
So beautiful, Yvonne. Yeah. In that inner truth resides also all of our inner strength. And that's something that hasn't really been valued. I guess we've been traditionally rewarded if we have had or have a job. And in that, it's really our strengths, it's our skills, it's our capacity, it's our wit, it's our creativity, it's our abilities that we have cultivated that really are within us. And I love how you share around the employer and the employee, that old system, there's been nothing really quote unquote wrong with it. It's just been exactly what it has been. But that the services that we can offer as a means of exchange are our strengths that we each individually carry with us. It's just that we recognize both through all of our conversations that because of all the social engineering and the education and all this programming, we've been trained to be in a somewhat disempowered orientation around our gifts and our talents and how we share that with the world. And the only real metric for that is then to turn it into a business with a business plan. And we're pretty much just participating in the same stream that the business as usual, which I call the business old model, is kind of framed as. And what I love about your perception on what is so radically changing, thousands and thousands of people walking out of their jobs and listening to their inner truth, that this is the line, and I'm no longer willing to be subservient, to relinquish, or to abdicate my sovereignty for the sake of this security, this stability, this promise, the ease. I don't have to think about it, and at least I get it every month in my bank account. All of the reasons that we may have upheld over the past months, if we are in such environments with jobs and employers, it's really taken so many people to the edge. So many people have come to the boundary of what I really see is that sense of dignity, that if I go any further, there is an inner voice that speaks, that says, yeah, but then I'm no longer even, it's not so much about worthy to myself, but there is a finite boundary there, that is a feeling based awareness of the inner knowing that says no, no more. And as you very beautifully put that, that is the birthing of a new earth. That is the birthing of, in that sense, well, it takes a lot of courage to make that step, although more and more people are being really pushed to the edge of making that choice. But with courage, there's bravery required to step into a new beginning, into a new way of being willing to see the world. And what I love about what you share is that most of how we experience our reality is really based on the programs that we are running in our minds, the belief systems. And I'd love you to share a little bit more around that, because it's so easily overlooked. And because we haven't really found a lot of evidence, or despite the many teachings about you create your own reality and all these beautiful inspirational The Secret teachings and sharings, personally and individually, a lot of people that may be listening to this haven't actually had the evidence. And we are very much trained to look for evidence so that we may therefore feel comfortable to step into that space. And I feel that there's plenty of evidence out there, because all that people have to do is look back and be in this awareness that they have totally crafted and shaped their experience of reality based on their belief system, and that has worked up until this point. But equally does it work into a new life, into a new beginning, into a new pathway forward. And I'd love for you to share more around that, because you have such a beautiful way of knitting that together.
You know, one of my past careers was as a knitwear designer. That's funny. Okay. This is a shift of consciousness, right, that is occurring in front of our eyes. So how I can describe that is, and I think I discussed that when I was talking to Shay recently, is that as a humanity, in the current construct, we have been allowed, and I use that word very carefully, allowed by the controllers to develop up to a point. There was a ceiling, and there was no developing beyond that ceiling. But humanity is life in form, and life doesn't like ceilings. It likes to break through ceilings. So humanity, as it was, because of what you call education, all the schooling has a certain amount of information being pumped into us at whatever level that you go to the schooling, but that's the level. Yes, you can go up and up and up, and you get more and more information, but it's information that is pumped into you, given by another. And it is the other that keeps the ceiling. So what's happened as a result of that is that humanity has come to its extreme of expansion in consciousness. And that whenever we get to an extreme of consciousness, the thing that life does is it raises itself to a new shift in consciousness. And that is what we're seeing now. So all the people that are moving out of the matrix are learning that this is a whole new world that has absolutely no precedence, that is even in any way relating to the old. It cannot. That because that level that's where it stands. It cannot go anywhere else. But we, as human beings, as the expression of this amazing quantum field of consciousness that is infinite, we have the ability to move out of that matrix and to shift into a higher state of consciousness. And that is what the New Earth is about. The New Earth is a higher state of consciousness. And how I relate to that, and I think I've described that before, that if you're in a prep grade, you haven't got the capacity to understand or have a consciousness about Form 1 or university. Now, the people in Form 1 and university can have the capacity to look down and understand the prep, but not the other way around. You have to go through the steps of expanding your awareness, your ability to grasp more. So even the people that are listening to us, they're picking up bits that suddenly resonate in their vibrational frequency that goes, aha. And with that aha, they move up just a little bit higher in consciousness. And each step that you take takes you to the next step. That is how we are configured. So we are breaking through the ceiling. And that is what this is all about. And that is why all of this had to happen. So the constriction that we're feeling, we've got to stop looking at it as a bad thing. What for me, it's like, how can I make this fabulous? And I'm watching it. I cannot tell you how many people are just coming out and going, no, I want to live. They don't realize that's what their life force is saying to them, but that is what the life force is saying. And those who are not ready to go from preps to grade 1 and 2, that's fine. Their time will come. There will be a moment, just like with you and I, there was a moment when we went, oh my God, really? Is that what it looks like? And that's what's so exciting. I think I shared on Brave New Life that we had Brecky for the first time out. We are the whatever you call it. I don't use the language because I don't give it energy. And now there is a sign that they want us to have a yellow star or marker. Now, where do you think that's taking my memory back to? Right? My mum, who was Jewish in the Second World War, had to wear a yellow star and a yellow band to show she was Jewish. And most of those people ended up, where, and that was 90% of my maternal family. So am I going to be doing that again? Of course not. However, what's really important here, and I really want to share this, I can have a story about that. And I used to. It can be a story of anger. It can be a story of despair. It can be a story of feeling powerless. But remember that that's not the reality that I choose to live in. So I don't give that story any room up there. My story is about celebrating what I see evolve as a result of it. Not this time. This time we're breaking through the ceiling. You and I are part of that. And I just so love that. And I'm so grateful and I feel so privileged to have even a tiny little bit to do with that.
So beautiful, Yvonne. Yeah, it's interesting that I'm here in the heartland of Bali, and you're pretty much in the epicenter of Draconoville. And yeah, I feel that a lot of people here, in what I'm observing, and I have a few local friends, because there isn't that much to relate around necessarily in the topics that I feel I'm attracted to relate around. I've kind of defaulted to a bit of the traditional small talk and something that we share as a common experience. And so this, whatever we want to call this, this planned scheme of sorts that's been rolled out, it's been a topic that I would bring up just to kind of have some small talk that could form a little bit of connecting. And what's been really interesting is the last couple of times I spoke with my friend, he said something really simple. He said, "Yeah, I don't talk about that anymore." So he didn't say I don't want to talk about that anymore. He said, "Yeah, I don't talk about that anymore." And the next time that I brought it up, he all he had to do is give me that feeling, or I couldn't give me the feeling, but he kind of indicated that he's not really available for that. And of course, what jolted my memory is like, oh, he's not talking about this anymore. It made me really curious. It's like, so I'm talking about this, how's it going? How is it in the community? And it's not empowering or inspiring conversation material. And then my beautiful beloved shared with me that she spoke with some of the community members here, local people in Bali. And what seems to be really the case is that they are just not talking about it anymore. Because on a deeper level, as I look into it, it gives it energy and validation and existence and presence and disempowerment and worry and concern and challenge. And so what I witness here over the past couple of weeks, because my last interactions were over a month ago with my friend, is that anybody that I'm relating with has got no signature or energy about this old world paradigm, this constriction, and they are just living their life, having their ceremonies, and just moving forward with what can be created, what can be generated, what can be cultivated, what can be organized, what can be collaborated around. And I found it such a simple and almost like innocent, but such a pure and actually quite profound, simple way forward is to just not engage in mentally. And I recognize that this has also been happening in our Brave New Life community. There's so little being fed into the narratives, the experiences that may be had. And when it's getting articulated around, it doesn't get named, it doesn't get given a sound, it doesn't get given even an alternative sound. It's just the thing I'm not talking about. And it's such a beautiful withdrawal of our consciousness, our attention, and our intention. And with that, our mind song is not reverberating out into the world, the repetition and the replication of the reality that was. Because we are responsible for the reality that is to be, and particularly our own one. But that requires training. And initially, I feel it really requires just that awareness of like, okay, so the way that I've seen that in the past is that what I pay attention to, I become aware of. And what I become aware of, if I regurgitate that or parrot that out or share another link out, I also perpetuate it. And that is not to say that I am feeling that people should all stop sharing what is all going on in corruption land. But our conversation is here about finding our inner truth. Is it actually really nourishing? Is it actually creating the new? Or is it just focusing on giving credence to an old and dying ceiling that we're cracking through, and we're almost kind of like reinforcing the cement density of that? I think that there is value in whatever people pursue in ultimately finding their own inner truth. But I've come to learn for myself that having intensely looked at the whole planned and orchestrated mayhem and been intimately involved in exposing that and showing that, and through the big events, focus on Fauci, the World Health Sovereignty Summits, all of the masterminds that I've been part of, I've really come to dive very, very deep into the nitty gritty of it all. And I really had to pull myself out of it because it was really just cultivating a festering opposition to what was going on. All the while, I knew it was performing a function with purpose. All the while, I was trying to take that information and then show and ask the question, what function is it performing? It is trying to break me open. It's trying to give me opportunity. It is not trying anything. It is just doing its own storyline. And it's really about what do I do with it. And so a couple of months ago, I really retracted myself because I started asking, is this actually really happening right here, right now, where I am in my body, in my thoughts? Am I witnessing this actively? And I realized that in my experience, I'm not. And so I stopped actually actively participating in the narratives, in the sharing, in the talking around it. And it's weird because it's making me feel as if I live in a world where this is not real. But this world that I live in is very real. And so I'd like you to share more towards that, because you are in an environment in Draconoville where the epicenter of a whole range of things we could talk about is like almost right at your doorstep. But that's just an analogy that isn't actually really real.
Well, I just keep saying, stop feeding the beast. Because what you pay attention to, you are feeding, you are fueling, you are intensifying. So my mission, my role in this whole thing has been now for 35 years to support people to find their inner gifts, to find their passions, to find their truth, to find their authentic self, so that they're ready to go into this shift of consciousness, which is the new earth. And yes, I am in what you might call the epicenter, but what I've also learned to do is to observe. So if I go back to the analogy of the preppy and let's say the grade sixer, the grade sixer does see the prepper, but doesn't play with them, doesn't take them home. Well, not unless they're a sibling. But, you're aware of that, but you know that that was what you used to be, but no longer are you that. And so I look at what's going on here in the, whatever you call that. And as I say, I won't let it pass my lips. I will not allow it to have a story about it, right? But for me, it's about the contrast. So they're on my gratitude list every day, because the bigger that contrast becomes, the more opportunity for people to walk away from it. So I just see them as a very necessary thing. I take the power of how everybody is calling that live in the opposite. I don't see that. I just see that they're doing an amazing job to offer the opportunity for humanity to go to what's inevitable, this next shift in consciousness. And some are taking a bit longer than others, and the longer they take, the stronger the contrast will have to become. So we are the force that are in the live stream of the new consciousness. And yes, it's challenging and it takes a great deal of courage, particularly here as they're now going after the children, without permission for the parents. And obviously that has to happen so that the parents will finally stand up and go, hang on a minute. But a lot of parents are still going, oh, okay then. So for me, all I see is those that are still in preps are not ready to go to grade 1 because they won't do the work, they won't open their eyes, and so they're stuck there. As where we are moving on to a higher state of consciousness, which is just, it's stunning what is occurring here with the people that are moving into this new earth and finding a truth within themselves. So really just want to get back to the story, because what I have so noticed is when I go out and I see people, whatever a person is doing, whatever they're doing or saying, I go, oh, that's their story. And what you're talking about is that the people in Bali have always had a story of peacefulness, of a connection to their spiritual self. So that's where they will go back to, because we've spent a lot of time looking at the indigenous people and how they've always gone back to the land. And so this is what we, particularly we westernized people who've been indoctrinated into having stuff as an explanation of success, or whatever you want to call that. If you don't have, then you're a failure. And what we're learning is that what we need to have is self-esteem, self-love, a relationship with ourselves that gives us beautiful stories, so that when we lie down in our beds at night, we feel at peace, no matter what's going on out there, right? Because with, and the way you said it's difficult, and it is difficult, but it has to be in a place of being present. We allow the stories to run out there, to run back there, and then the now is gone. And the now is a fraction of a second. And now's another one gone, another one gone, another one gone. And where are you? Are you thinking of something else? Worrying about something else? Getting angry with something else? And in this moment, in every moment, if we can create a story of peace and love for self and others, then that just builds into a higher state of awareness and consciousness that is the new earth. So when we get together in the groups that we're now creating, the Brave New Life groups, the Connect to Soul groups, the whatever, there are groups everywhere forming. Down here, there are groups that are actually secretly moving into a forest every week where they can't be found and gathering, because you cannot stop this ascension process. So that's where my stories go. I celebrate. Just before I came on there, and I've shared this before, here in Melbourne we have, or down the Mornington Peninsula, we have this wonderful Facebook group called Mornington Peninsula Stronger Together, JAB, or no JAB, right? And the stories in there are amazing. All these people offering their services, they're celebrating, asking, I need a car service. Oh, yes, here's a whole list. We'll do that. I need my nails done. Oh, we'll do that. I need my haircut. We'll do that. And the stories in there are so uplifting. There are over 10,000 members in that group already. And people I know they say, I'm not on Facebook. Well, it's like anything else in life. You either use it for good or you don't. And these people are using it for good, and it's just spreading like crazy. So as a group, we are having a picnic this Sunday. And I tell you what, there'll probably be about 40 people, and I won't know half of them, because they're just coming from everywhere. Oh, I'm coming. I'm bringing a few friends. I'm bringing this person and that person. We are finding each other. We're finding each other because of the vibrational frequency that we're radiating. But the moment you get caught in the fear, your vibration goes down, and then you have the stories which then create the reality that you're really wanting to avoid. So when you're talking about people not wanting to talk about it, I think it's wonderful. Talk about what it is that you choose to create. At that brekkie last week, and of course we're doing another one because I had not got home yet from that brekkie, and I got a message from the restaurateur and his staff. Please, having you in there was phenomenal. Can you come back? So we're doing it again this week, next week, because the energy was so infectious, so amazing. We lifted the roof. And then it's the ripple effect of that causes the breakthrough and the move into the higher consciousness. And so that's my story. That's my mission. And yes, I can see the rest. I know what's down there, but I don't become emotionally entangled. And that's the thing. I don't become emotionally entangled. It's learning to see it without having an opinion, just going, oh, that's still going on. Okay, well, that's there, but we're here. And then celebrate every tiny little sign that you see.
So
I do get a bit
great.
excited about it.
So amazing, Yvonne. You're such a way shower in gifting us a different perspective, a different way of relating to what is all out there, what's all going on, but really also, therefore, what's all going in here. And to me, it's just such a gift and a blessing to be reminded of these natural comprehensions, the simplicity of how it actually functions. And then recognizing what was coming up for me is like, yeah, there's so much distraction being thrown out all around us. And it's so, the word that comes up is that it's almost, well, it's not lucrative, but it's so tempting for so many people, and it has been for me, to go into collusion with the old world, to go into collusion with the narratives that really just feed something that then therefore starts growing. And as it grows, it then starts showing up and it becomes part of the perceived reality, and so forth and so forth. And I love it how you don't even let it crush your lips, so it doesn't have a place in your world. And I really feel to take that to heart for myself, not even finding alternative word sounds for it, because it's still kind of, using my little label gun, my creative label gun, to stick a little label on there to kind of still be able to relate to it in some form that it's not that. But everybody knows that already. It's so inspiring to hear the stepping into, and people gathering, and the tribe forming. And that's something that in Brave New Life we've really witnessed over the last almost year and a half now, where people find each other, kin, family, whatever we want to call it. And we don't need to know each other for the last 5 years or 10 years. We actually have never met each other before, but we have deeper connections, deeper relationships, more meaningful conversations, because we share a shared calling from within to gather. Because ultimately, this new earth is going to come about by us collaborating, by us finding each other, by us finding the new pathways, finding the new ways of navigating, finding the new ways of exchanging the services that we each as individuals carry. And it's beautiful to see that the condensing of pressures is really kind of squeezing that out. And I am aware that there are people who may be watching this that are going through the proverbial eye of the needle, and going through that intensified squeezing out of, and squeezing them, they're being squeezed by themselves really, but through what seems to be external powers, into their inner truth, into their inner knowing. And I feel it really requires for many people a real breaking open, a real breaking through, a real breaking out of the constrictions that we actually keep permissioning to be impeding onto our sovereignty. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot, because we're it's not something that I sense is a journey that is one of ease and grace. In hindsight, when we come out the other side, we'll be like, wow, I really needed that. That was actually propelling me and jump starting me, kick starting me, creating a springboard for this next experience in my life. And this is where the calling for stepping into one's brave new life is such an activation avenue. And I hear that the Connect to Soul groups, the newer sanctuary circles, are all about creating shared avenue for people to step into themselves, to listen to their inner truth, and to learn with love how to trust within themselves, in that inner knowing, and then in the togetherness, finding each other to find those pathways forward. Such a potent time. It's so beautiful. And I just wanted to really encourage people to start really embracing your inner truth, the inner knowing that is alive, that yes, there's things that are wrong in your world, but we are the arbiters and we are the destination creators of where we individually are navigating ourselves towards, and at the same token, what we are navigating ourselves out of. And I know that that takes courage. I know that takes willingness primarily. And that's really that part that I keep coming back to ask people. They come and speak in a language that I experience as disempowered language. When I work with some of the clients that I've worked with, these subtle frequencies are still in there, and they would just say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know why, or I don't know. And that one sentence, that I don't know, it's really dysfunctional, and it's not even relevant whether you know or not. Are you willing to come into awareness? Because that's procreative, that's generative. That is actually telling yourselves, well, currently I'm not in the awareness, but I am willing, with my will, my cells, to come into awareness, which opens new avenues for life to come into my field, for information to meet me, for innate inner knowing to actually be allowed to come up. Because for as long as I have kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I am affirming to this body and the inner truth and the database of infinite knowledge and all that, every guru has ever told really anybody, that it all lives within. For as long as I keep repeating this programmed little sentence, I don't know, I am instructing myself, don't release my inner awareness. Don't release this inner truth. Don't release my inner knowing. Don't give it to me. I don't know. I don't. And the reality is that it all lives within. And what enables that inner knowing to be given an opportunity to start being experienced is by being willing to come into awareness. And as I've been willing that over and over, and I share with the people that I work with, how the language around willing into motion, willing into form, willing into activity, it is so beneficial, and it's such a beautiful, natural, flowing stepping stone to re-empower and to regenerate and to reactivate that which already is within. And what is so beautiful, and why I want to bring this up, is that when I go through the process of asking people, I comprehend that you feel currently, based on programming, that you don't know, but do you feel willing to come into awareness? And when they say yes, then I ask them, do you feel open to just witness what the cells may be bringing up? And there are always pictures, there are always stories, there are always memories. And what is so funny is that often the memories and the stories are caught in the same narrative of the I don't know personality. And so we retrieve that and we say, well, I'm grateful that I have now found this. Time to come home, please. Yes. And together, let's will more. Let's be willing to discover more of what we can do, what we can create, what we are able to foster into being. And it's such a beautiful enabling tool that I have found that allows the cells, our inner nature, to speak, for the images, the language, the memories, to give us the information that all of a sudden we have allowed, but really instructed this body to give us. And so for me, it's all about working with our cells, working with our body, working with the divine intelligence that lives within. And what I've found primarily is that I just have to remain willing to keep doing it like that. Because if I stop being willing, well, then I am back to square one, so to speak, where I may fall back into that narrative of like, well, I don't know. And I still catch myself. I'd like you to share a little bit about that embracing of our inner truth, how to call that forth. Because some people may listen and think, well, this inner truth is one of righteous indignation. This inner truth of mine is one of tremendous anger. Um, Open to really having you share some perspective on how to make use of those energies if they are alive for people, and what their function is, but then also how can it really serve us.
Well, okay. I want to backtrack for a minute before I answer that one to when you were talking about disempowerment and people feeling, pressured and definitely in a state of not knowing and feeling lost. This is something that I want to share with people. No one can take you away from you. We have had some horrendous bushfires here. And I often listen to people who've lost their houses and their cars and their whatever, and they stand there and their terminology is, I've lost everything. And I just, and then I wish that I could just be in their ear and go, no, you haven't. You've lost the things, but you've still got everything. Because we carry everything in here. We can recreate the outer trappings. So while you're standing, you have everything. A few Christmases ago, I was with some friends whose ex-husband has had money as his eyes, dollar signs. And his whole life has been about creating money. And he was asking me, because I've known them for a long time, hadn't seen him for ages. And so, he wanted to know how successful had I been and what was my bank balance like. And I went, well, I don't have any assets, Secretary, in material things. The only asset I have is sitting here. That's me. And he nearly fell off his chair because he was horrified. So I just want people to know that whilst you are standing, whilst you have everything you need for whatever you choose your life to be. Please understand that. You are your greatest asset. You are your most precious commodity. And when you really come home to that, you can do with that and for that whatever you want. Now, let's go to the willingness. And, originally we were talking about body talk, which made me amused because she kept pointing here. And what is so great about that is that when we say, I don't know, it's funny because when I work with people, there are two phrases I won't accept. I know, because that shuts the door, and I don't know, that shuts another door. And so both of those terms come from looking in here for an answer. And then you realize that in here is just all the programming. And in here is full of other people's stories. And in here are your stories of limitation. But in here is your truth. And I just want to share, a very simple kinesiology type testing that you can do anytime that you want to make a decision, because people find it really difficult to make decisions because they're so frightened they're going to make the wrong ones. Well, I just see life as a whole series of doors of different colors. And if I go into a green door, I'm going to have a green experience. And if I don't like it, well, I'll come back out and try the red door. And if I don't like that, I'll go out and try the blue door. I don't get stuck and say, oh dear, I don't like this, I'll just have to put up with it, because I know I'm a free spirit and I can make my decisions. However, these days, I don't need to have that fear and doubt, because I've learned that my body always knows what's right for my highest possibility, because that's what I constantly focus on. And so whenever you want an answer for your highest good, just have in your mind what it is that you need an answer for. Let's say, for instance, this morning I was asking my body what it needed for breakfast. That's simple. And I held up something, and then I just wait for my body. I have absolutely no focused idea of a preference, and I allow my body to tell me what it would like for breakfast. And I thought the first thing I picked that it would be that is what it wanted. But no, it didn't. And how did I know? Because I stood still and my body went backwards. Because when I want a no answer, my body goes backwards. And so then I picked something else and I went, well, would you like this? And it went forward. And because the body knows, it knows the truth. Up here, all lies. Down here is always true. So whenever you ask a question, don't ask it up there. Ask it in here. My work, and you say to people, I don't know. Whenever I work with somebody, I become the voice of their truth and their soul. And so I just instantly know what is for their highest good. That's not because I'm some magic person. It's because I tune into that energy field and I ask it to interpret itself to me. And that's the new earth. That's how we're going to relate with each other, because it's all about energy. We are so stuck in this solidity of proof of having some sort of thing in front of you that shows you that it's real, when actually that is the most illusory thing that you could come up with. Your true sense is in here. And the more that you come home to your inner self and ask the question here rather than there, you will feel your cells either open or close. It's a very simple thing. Your body is just such a magical piece of equipment. Now, I would like to share something else. That because a lot of people are going through a lot of stress. So I would like to just give a little exercise where people can learn to de-stress like that. Would you like that? I think people would like that. So you can be my guinea pig there. Okay, so you can do that. So I would like you to look up to the ceiling without moving your head. No, don't move your head. Put your head straight and look up to the ceiling. Don't strain your eyes. Just look up to the ceiling. And then slowly close your eyes. And everybody who's watching, do this too. Now, relax your body, okay? Just keep your eyes looking up to the top of your eyelids. And now observe your breath. And just stay in that situation. There it goes. I can tell. Can you see, everyone? All of a sudden, there is this. All right, so what are you experiencing? You can come up now. Oh, now you're muted, so you can tell us what you felt.
a surprising state of serenity.
Thank you. So what that actually does is that it takes your body, your mind, instantly into the state of alpha. So what happens when you do it, as long as you don't strain your eyes, your body, it feels like something just rolls off your back. It's like,
Mm.
ooh, and then we could actually see it in your face. All of a sudden it goes, it's such a lovely thing. These are the wonderful things about our bodies. Nobody teaches you that. Now, the other thing that I can share with you is that when things get tough, look up. You know how children, when they're in trouble, always look up and go, no, 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 and you're telling them off, but they're looking up and they're going, da, 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 da. Because when we look up, we cannot have negativity in our mind. So when you look at people who are in a state of low vibrational frequency, they're all looking down. You have a look at the people who have these covers on their faces, right? They're all looking down. And that's why they fall over themselves, because really it's so difficult. I have to say, life is out there and up there. So when you look up, it's really difficult to have a downward spiraling thought. In fact, eventually you end up laughing. These are just simple things that this body offers you if only you listen, stop and listen long enough. So when we go back to finding our true self and finding that the kingdom does live within, and the queendom, we've got to get out of here and come back to here and feel and listen to these cells. Every part of our body is talking to us all the time. And I was talking to a beautiful lady yesterday, and we were looking for a solution to her fear. And I gave her a suggestion because I tune into her soul and I ask her soul what's for her highest good. So I phrased that. And I said, so what does that feel like? And she goes, oh my God, I feel such relief. Because once you get to your soul truth, that part of you that is ready to leap into a higher state of awareness and a higher state of consciousness and a higher state of experience, all the cells open and they're willing and ready to embrace what's coming. But everything that you're being asked to do by some outer authority that is not interested in your higher good, that has their own agendas, your whole body is constricted. And if you could see auras, or you had your aura photographed, then you would see it now at the moment. All the people that are still caught in that narrative, their auras would be bright red and very close tight because they're all in survival mode. And that's what your aura looks like. But those of us, you and I, our auras are rainbows because they're open and really looking forward to receiving what's coming, the joy and the love and the relationships and the sharing and caring and the innovativeness that comes out of the human spirit is limitless. So it's all in here.
So beautiful, Yvonne. My cells feel totally relaxed, and it's going to be a nice little practice to do for any future activities on the screen. Um, that's a beautiful, beautiful sharing, and it makes so much sense. So many things, as you say, we haven't been taught, that are all part of the path that we each are on, which is a path of remembering who we really are, really re-enabling our innate and intrinsic capacities. And so much of it, if not the majority of it, just has to do with listening in, feeling into, allowing our mind to become aware that, yeah, it's performing a function with purpose, but it's much more fun and much more freeing and much more liberating to do it in tandem, in following ourselves and listening to the cell's innate awareness. The intricacies that are still, I guess you could call them hidden, but they are alive. It's just that we're not uncovering them as actively as we maybe could. Our bodies are able to do so much that we are not, we haven't been trained to work in tandem with. And just this little exercise that you gave, I just noticed myself just going from wherever I was to, okay, wow, leaning in, coming home. Um, and it's just sometimes that simple act of following the breath, taking some moments to, yeah, to listen in. What are the cells saying? My cells are saying everything is fine. Here, now, I get to hold myself. And so beautiful to explore this topic of inner truth, embracing our feelings, listening to our feelings with you, Yvonne. I want to invite you to share some closing thoughts because we're at the top of the hour, and that you
Well,
lead us out.
I just feel so blessed, really, to have these conversations with you. And I just encourage people to trust their heart and to stay focused on what it is that you would like, that you desire, and take away your focus from that which is the old and that is attempting to distract you into fear. It's really just it's a path going from fear to love, from doubt to faith. And it's not having faith in anything out there, it's having faith in you. You're everything. Without you, you have nothing. With you, you have everything. Don't give it away. Bring it home. Value it. Love it. Listen to it. And join us all in a new earth, which is like the Garden of Eden that was always promised. But it isn't up to someone else to give it to us. It is up to us to lift our vibration to where it already exists. So I'm going there. I'm there most of the time. So I'll see you there. Why not?